You're watching Alabama Broadcasters Station of the Year. Coverage you can count on. WAAY 31 News at 4 starts now.
First on WAAY 31 News at 4, a Huntsville police officer convicted for a deadly shooting while on duty, fighting to overturn his conviction. We take you inside the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals for William Darby's case.
Homes washed into the ocean, beaches eroded into the sea. We're on top of the damage Hurricane Nicole unleashed on Florida, and the rain the storm is bringing our way.
All new at 4, the fate of a former Huntsville police officer's fight to overturn his murder conviction, now in the hands of Alabama's Court of Criminal Appeals.
William Darby is appealing his murder conviction for the 2018 shooting death of Jeffrey Parker while Darby was on duty. That fatal shooting was recorded by police body camera. Darby claims he was justified for the fatal shooting. WAAY 31's Matt Kroschel was in the court for the hearing held this morning on the Samford University campus.
Well, the latest chapter in what is a case that a lot of people across this country have been watching, the conviction of William Darby for that 2018 shooting. Now the State Criminal Court of Appeals looking into this case and Darby's appeal. The two questions that these judges wanted more information about: whether the circuit court's disabling of the video in the spectator room denied Darby of his Sixth Amendment right to a public trial.
Did Mr. Darby object to not having a Waller hearing prior to the commencement of the trial?
Mr. Darby had no way of knowing that the live stream room was going in and out.
And whether the court improperly refused Darby's request for instructions on law applicable to the jury's consideration of an officer-involved shooting in the context of a self-defense claim. Former Huntsville Police Chief Mark McMurray weighing in after the arguments wrapped up.
And hopefully this will be sent back for retrial where the full extent of the law, 30 to 40 years of adjudication, can be considered on what a reasonable police officer, what are we asking our officers to do anyway?
Really no time frame when we might get a ruling back from this court. But if you look at the averages on criminal cases and on appeal here in Alabama, it's about a year. So we could be looking at early next year. Reporting at Samford University, Matt Kroschel, WAAY 31 News.
Now, Darby has already served a year and nearly 3 months of his 25-year sentence. He's locked up in Limestone Correctional Facility. The earliest he could come up for parole is September of 2036.
New revelations in federal court as a Madison man faced a judge over his child porn arrest. The judge ordered William Spearman to remain in detention after this morning's hearing. Now, this is new video we're about to show you of Spearman being escorted out of court back to his jail cell. Spearman's being held in the Morgan County Jail. He'll stay there until his case is transferred to the federal court district in Florida. Federal agents arrested Spearman at his home last week. Prosecutors say he promoted and guided people on the rules of a child porn website linked to Florida. During this morning's hearing, it was revealed Spearman slept in his garage where the website operation was found. His wife believed he slept in the garage because of back pain. Investigators say they found a large amount of medications and guns along with the child porn. Well, first step forward, DeKalb County grand jury indicted a man already in prison on unrelated charges for child rape. Newly unsealed court records show this man, Stephen Robert Palmer, was indicted on 10 counts of first-degree rape. Palmer was sent to Ventress Correctional earlier this year for a robbery conviction in Marshall County. Palmer will be returned to DeKalb County to face the rape charge once a hearing date is set. Time now 4:03, and people across Marshall County are mourning the loss of Chief Deputy Steve Guthrie. The Marshall County Sheriff's Office says he died yesterday afternoon. Doctors admitted Guthrie to the hospital last month for gallstones and pancreatitis. No word yet on any funeral arrangements.
Coming up on 404, we are tracking the arrival times for rain associated with Tropical Storm Nicole here in North Alabama.
We want to check in now with WAAY 31 Storm Tracker meteorologist Olga Breeze. Olga, we'll see that rain hit overnight and well into tomorrow morning.
Most definitely, and showing up with full force here on our
our WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network. You can see some of those outer bands getting very close, but the heavy and steady rain still well to our south. But things will be changing as we move into the overnight. I think many of us are going to be able to see some of this rain develop. But currently on our radar network, we have just the cloud cover and even still that southerly wind flow giving us some mild conditions. 70 degrees in Guntersville, 71 for Decatur, lower 70s as well across the board. And it's going to be a fairly mild night tonight with the cloud cover acting like a blanket over us. So we're not going to dip too far from the mark here. We will get down into those 60s, those middle range 60s early tomorrow morning. But overall, it's going to be a fairly mild day tomorrow before the cold air settles in. We are tracking some rain, and I know that folks have plans for the Veterans Day observances. I'll be back to time it out for you and let you know when we'll finally dry out and just how long our next cold snap is going to last. And remember, you can make sure you stay up to date with any weather changes as we continue to track Tropical Storm Nicole and its impact to North Alabama. Just download our WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app.
Right now, major cleanup and damage assessments are underway in Florida, all because of the heavy rain, the pounding surf and wind that Hurricane Nicole unleashed. The St. Augustine area is dealing with flooding from the storm surge. And Nicole now blamed for 2 deaths in the Sunshine State. The Orange County Sheriff's Office in the Orlando area says both victims were electrocuted by downed power lines. We're also getting lots of reports of major property damage. Look at this drone video from this morning. It shows the extent of the shoreline damage in Daytona Beach. As you can see, seawalls were obliterated, homes, pools, docks, other property washed away. The Weather Channel's Jim Cantori is in Daytona Beach.
You know, 3 days ago, we knew it was going to be bad with all sorts of huge ocean waves, destructive waves coming in. But then the reality came to us this morning when we literally watched a standing overhang here collapse before our very eyes. Let's take you back here again. This all took place in about a 3-hour period this morning after sunrise. We never really saw the water come down. The water, even 2.5 hours, 3 hours before high tide, was already high. We already had battering waves coming up as high as they were even from last night's high tide, all right? And then we just watched it go. The first section, the second section, and now this is what's left of some of the decking here at Pirates Cove. A good idea yesterday to get people out of here. They evacuated 12 beach buildings and 1 hotel as a result of potential safety hazards. Hazards like you see that came to fruition right behind us. In Daytona Beach shores, I'm meteorologist Jim Cantori.
Meanwhile, NASA says the SLS Mega Moon rocket was exposed to wind gusts of up to 82 miles per hour on the launch pad. Engineers say the rocket is designed to withstand that. Camera inspections done today show only minor damage, loose caulking, some tears and weather coverings. NASA leaders say a more thorough walkthrough inspection of the rocket will happen soon. That inspection is crucial before NASA can make its latest attempt to launch the Artemis 1 mission next Wednesday.
NASA confirmed a recent underwater discovery off Florida's coast is an artifact from the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. A TV documentary crew made the discovery while looking for the wreckage of a World War II-era aircraft. Divers found the object partially covered by sand. The presence of 8-inch square tiles led the crew to call NASA. By law, all space shuttle artifacts are the property of the U.S. government. NASA is currently considering what to do with the artifact to properly honor the legacy of the fallen astronauts. Well, right now, an accused arsonist is locked up in Mississippi. And Dan, that man is suspected of setting 2 churches and 5 other buildings on fire.
Police in Jackson caught up to that man thanks to surveillance video. This is a look at some of the damage that he did there. Here he is throwing a brick through a window at one church near Jackson State University. Police say that's Devin McLaren vandalizing that church. He also is suspected of setting fire to one of the state's oldest, predominantly black Lutheran churches. Investigators say they still need a lot of questions answered.
One of them was why. What led and drove him to have that amount of aggression toward the church. That's a sacred place.
McLaurin is charged with 7 counts of arson. He has said he is not the arsonist. Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones will have to pay nearly $500 million more for promoting false information about the Sandy Hook School massacre. A Connecticut judge today ordered Jones to pay $473 million in punitive damages. That brings the total judgment against him to $1.4 billion. Jones used his platform to claim the school shooting was staged to enact more gun laws. He calls the trial unfair, an attack on free speech rights, and says he will appeal. Coming up new at 4:30, dramatic video of police rushing to help a baby stop breathing. Their heroic actions and what we're learning about respiratory illnesses making children sick.
Plus a cool down when it comes to inflation and the big reaction on Wall Street.
And next, stepping up to help veterans impacted by toxic burn pits. We'll look at the new treatment coming in the new year.
Clouds moving in, then the rain, and yes, a wet start to Veterans Day, but I'm tracking a very cold weekend ahead. I'll have the details coming up.
On this Marine Corps birthday, our WAAY 31 Hero Salute of the Day goes to a highly decorated Vietnam veteran, Cleveland King Jr. Mr. King served with the Charlie Company, 4th Division, 1st Marine. He was the main radio operator for the 4 squads. His daughter Dana tells us her family is so proud of her father's service, and they love him very much. From all of us here at WAAY 31, thank you, Cleveland King Jr., for your service, and welcome home.
Well, we are less than 2 months away now from veterans getting help and treatment they need after being exposed to toxic burn pits.
New Veterans Affairs benefits kick in for the new year. Mike Valerio talked to VA leaders about filling the urgent need.
There were some soldiers that were just sitting there in that space with this toxic fume cloud over them for over a year. And now when I think about that, in retrospect, it's honestly horrifying.
Retired National Guard Captain Rafael Barbosa flew above the battlefields of Iraq and Afghanistan. Burn pits, he says, loomed in the background.
The burn pit exposure is the wild card. You might be young, but that exposure puts you into a high-risk category, and all bets are off.
The fumes, Barbosa and his doctors say, led to stage 4 colon cancer. But this past summer, after stalling briefly in Congress, the PACT Act eventually passed. It's a new law expanding VA health care for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxins.
How big a deal is the PACT Act for veterans?
Look, it's a big deal.
Dennis McDonough is the U.S. Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Right now, the VA is accepting burn pit claims, and in less than 2 months, the VA will start rolling out treatment.
January 1st, 2023, will the VA be ready for this influx of claims that are coming down the pike?
Yeah, so we will be ready. We've spent the last year hiring 2,000 new people, those 2,000 new VA staff to be in a position to work on those claims.
McDonough says he realizes the task is enormous, but he says for the VA, it's a matter of duty.
Veterans and their family members are urged to file claims at va.gov/PACT. That address right there on your screen. The VA wants you to file claims even if you were denied in the past. Well, we pay tribute to our veterans tomorrow.
Yeah, the Huntsville Parade, the big Veterans Day Parade, steps off at 11 o'clock. It begins at Lot K on Woodson Street. It will include the Veterans Memorial on Monroe Street and end near the Lumberyard on Cleveland Avenue. Huntsville Police, by the way, will begin closing streets for that parade pretty early in the day, so make plans if you're traveling around downtown Huntsville. They're going to start blocking off those streets at 7 in the morning in advance of that parade. Also, the Veterans Day program in Florence is changing locations. The Veterans Thank You program will now be held at the Florence Lauderdale Coliseum due to the weather forecast. It begins tomorrow at 11.
Weather coverage you can count on with meteorologist Olga Breeze and the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
Well, the clouds have arrived already, and you'll see that in a moment from our tower camera views. But right now, we're really not feeling the effects yet of that tropical storm Nicole. You can see it is spinning there down toward the south over the Florida Panhandle. Now, it will cross mainly into Georgia, but close enough to us to give us the opportunity for some much-needed rain. Not the best timing, though, with the Veterans Day observances coming up. Right now, a little bit of rain showing up across parts of our eastern counties, mainly just light rain, but for many of us, the southerly wind flow is keeping us warm. So what is the status of Nicole? Down to a tropical storm right now. There are some wind gusts about 60 miles per hour, but at the moment, it is still moving at northwest at about 15 miles per hour. As I mentioned, it's going to continue to track inland. It'll take an arc mainly along the eastern coast, but close enough to us to give some impact, not only for Friday, but into our weekend as well. You're looking at the Sky Camera Network view for WAAY 31. Temperatures generally into the lower 70s, but those overcast skies are here, and we can say goodbye to the sunshine, at least for the next couple of days. Coldest pocket of air is to our north. That's the neck behind the next front that's coming our way Friday night, so there will be some pretty big changes as we move into the weekend forecast. But for right now, Huntsville is 73 degrees, and most of the region is feeling fairly comfortable right now in those upper 60s, lower 70s. It's going to be a mild night again tonight. While we have this cloud deck overhead, it acts kind of like a blanket. outside. It's going to keep us nice and cozy into the early morning hours, but we'll get the rain and the thunderstorms overnight tonight. Winds right now at Decatur are about 5 miles per hour, and temperatures in the lower 70s. So the trend is basically to just hang out in the 60s until we get to sunrise. We'll bottom out early morning for some of us in those upper 50s, but mostly cloudy skies, and those showers and storms will start to move in as you sleep, and we're going to carry some of that rain in tomorrow morning. If you're headed out to any activities early, that's going to be the issue. Till about noontime, we have a pretty healthy chance for rain, up to 40%. Then we break out some sunshine in the afternoon. If you're headed to the Friday night football games, you will be fine. Rain chances will be out of there by then. I wanted to stop our future radar forecast model overnight tonight. Heavy pockets of rain possible. Messy morning commute tomorrow. You need that extra time as well. Rain does move out into the afternoon, so broken cloud cover by kickoff at 6 p.m. And then as we move into Saturday, this is what's coming with that front. We'll see some heavy rain throughout the day on Saturday. But by Sunday, while we do start out with some rain cover, we'll see some opportunities for breaks in the sunshine as we head into Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening. For the most part, the 7-day forecast is looking pretty good. The rain opportunities are healthy for us nonetheless. But we will eventually move on from this. The forecast will feature a lot of clouds until Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Not too bad, but a very cool weekend ahead. We will stay chilly well into next week.
All right, thank you, Olga. Rock the South is already gearing up for a big show next summer. The festival in Coleman announced the lineup for next July. Chris Stapleton will headline. Other performers include Zach Bryan, Cody Johnson, and Riley Green, along with Travis Tritt and Jody Messina. Tickets will be available starting tomorrow for pre-sale.
Robust pay increases over the last year and a half are starting to slow. We're on top of the job market changes as inflation cools off just a little. A big surge on Wall Street, the largest since the Trump administration after a lighter-than-expected inflation report. More on that report coming up in just a moment. The Dow Jones Industrial Average soared 3.7%. The index finished up 1,201 points to close at 33,715. The NASDAQ Composite Index closed with its highest one-day gain on record. The tech-heavy index rocketed up more than 7%, gaining 761 points. And the S&P 500, where most 401ks are invested, also added more than 5.5%, gaining 208 points Thursday. That positive inflation report shows that inflation is starting to slow down.
We paid about 7.7% more for items over the last 12-month period ending in November. That's a half a percentage point drop from September. ABC's Rena Roy digs into the numbers and what it means for the job market.
A potential sign of hope in Thursday's new inflation numbers. The Labor Department saying prices are up 7.7% compared to a year ago, which is still historically high, but better than economists expected.
Remember back in June, we were at 9.1%, so this is definitely some welcome relief.
Used car prices, clothing costs, and medical care all seeing a drop. President Biden touting the new numbers as progress on slowing inflation, claiming it's a sign that his administration's economic policies are working. But Americans are still feeling the pain when it comes to rent, gas, and groceries.
The typical household in this country needs to spend $433 more a month on the same goods and services as they did a year ago, according to Moody's Analytics.
Essentials like food, gasoline, rent continue to go up and continue to cut into our household budgets.
This new report comes as some tech giants announce massive layoffs. Facebook's parent company, Meta, cutting more than 11,000 employees. The Labor Department also releasing its weekly unemployment numbers, finding that 7,000 more people filed first-time unemployment claims last week compared to the week before.
We're expecting consumer spending to hang in there, but that consumers are going to be a lot more budget conscious this holiday season as they pay more for just about everything.
Despite this hopeful news, a lot of economists are still predicting we could fall into a mild recession by the middle of next year. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York. Mortgage rates are rising again. A 30-year fixed-rate mortgage jumped back to about 7%. That rate had dropped just under 7% last week. A year ago, the 30-year fixed rate was under 3%.
Wicked winter weather hitting hard up north. All new at 4:30, the blizzard and its impact as the South deals with a hurricane.
Next, the flu raging across Alabama. Now we're learning of a pediatric death. The information on the flu outbreak.
And we will be feeling some effects from Tropical Storm Nicole as the remnants of the storm move inland. I'll let you know what to expect for Friday and the weekend.
Alabama Broadcasters Station of the Year. Coverage you can count on. WAAY 31 News at 4:30 starts now.
Wild weather extremes. Two big storms unleashing their fury on different parts of the country. A blizzard striking well to our north, and Hurricane Nicole's savage destruction along Florida's coast, and the rain it's bringing our way.
A desperate parent's plea for help after her baby stopped breathing. The quick action by police, their life-saving work caught on camera. Tonight we are looking into the rise of respiratory illnesses and the toll it is taking on children. Those stories in just a moment, but first we want to update you on some rain moving into North Alabama tonight.
WAAY 31 Storm Tracker meteorologist Olga Breeze is here with a look at what we can expect this evening. Olga?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've needed the rain gear, and you better put your hands on it this evening because tomorrow, especially in the morning, could be a bit wet and sloppy. Some areas across the region will get that rain as early as midnight tonight, and you're looking at the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network where Nicole still off the Florida coast and now moving into the Panhandle region for more rain, heavy downpours, and gusty winds. A little closer to our area, we're getting some cloud cover from the outer bands. We're mainly dry on our radar network, but in time, especially as we get closer to that midnight hour, the rain will arrive. Temperatures are fairly mild. We're in the lower 70s. We have overcast skies across the board. We'll continue to see our temperatures moderate just a little bit tonight, but we're not going down too low. I think these temperatures will slide out of the 70s and settle into the upper 50s to near 60 degrees for the overnight lows. I'll be back to tell you more about the timing of the rain, how it will impact your Friday night football, your Veterans Day observance plans, and that cool blast coming our way for the weekend.
Alabama reported its first flu-related deaths as the virus rages across the state.
The state health department says 2 adults and a child died. They're also seeing more cases across the state, and right now nearly 12% of all the doctor's visits are related to the flu. There were also more than 100 outbreaks reported last week. Nationwide, pediatricians are seeing flu and RSV impacting children.
One baby in Missouri stopped breathing after coming down with RSV. ABC's Ariel Risher shows us the officers who dashed in to make a dramatic, life-saving rescue.
Watch as 2 Kansas City, Missouri police officers rush to this home. Once inside, handed 1-month-old baby Kamaya after she stopped breathing.
I can feel her.
Officers Duchesne and Owen performed chest compressions and life-saving care on the little one.
Come on, sweetie. Come on.
The harrowing incident all caught on police body camera.
Turn up and hit the back. Come on, sweetie. Come on. I can hear her. A little harder. Come on.
Within seconds, Kamaya responds.
She's breathing now. She is breathing. There you go. There we go.
Kamaya's mother calling the 2 men her heroes.
He's a hero. Like, he's my hero. He's my daughter's hero. He's a hero. Like, I would do anything for the man. The man is a hero to save my daughter.
But they say they were just fulfilling their duty.
We don't feel like heroes. We just feel like we did something good.
We don't do this job to be called heroes. We do this job to preserve life and just overall just protect the people of the city.
Thank God for those officers. Well, nationwide, RSV is surging to record levels. Premature babies, like the child we just featured, are among the most vulnerable. Well, coming up all new at 5, WAAY 31 News visits a local doctor's office. We'll tell you what doctors expect to see as we head into the holiday season.
Well, the battle for control of the U.S. House and Senate remains up in the air, and it won't be settled until December. That's when Georgia will hold a runoff election in their U.S. Senate race. Democratic incumbent Raphael Warnock and Republican challenger Herschel Walker are locked in a tight race. Both are preparing to spend millions for the runoff election. And it's not the only Senate race still undecided. Here's ABC's Em Nguyen.
The race for control of the U.S. Senate is coming down to just 3 states, Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia. In the Peach State, the 2 Senate hopefuls, Republican candidate Herschel Walker and incumbent Senator Raphael Warnock, already back out campaigning ahead of their December 6 runoff election. That became necessary after neither candidate got 50% of the vote. Warnock taking jabs at Walker during an afternoon rally.
This is a race about right and wrong. Who's right for Georgia?
Walker launching what he dubbed the Evict Warnock bus tour.
I don't come to lose. And I told you he's going to be tough to beat.
This runoff, just like the one in 2021, could decide which party controls the Senate, but only if the results in the Nevada and Arizona Senate races are split. Officials in both states continuing to count votes.
And for those who are trying to rush us, I would tell them accuracy is more important than speed.
The White House anxiously awaiting the final result.
We just have to see what the complexion of Congress is going to look like, and then we'll move forward from there.
In the House, Republicans have an easier path to gaining the 218 seats they need. Anticipating victory, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy making rounds of calls and meetings to garner support for his election bid, despite dozens of undecided races.
Do you have the votes for both the majority and the speakership?
Yes. According to preliminary exit polling, inflation and abortion were the two top issues driving how Americans voted. Analysts saying the youth vote made a significant impact.
Youth turnout this year was massive. The reason why we're headed to a runoff in December is because Gen Z showed up.
The latest tallies released by officials have Democrat Mark Kelly with an edge in Arizona's Senate race. But in the Nevada Senate race, Republican Adam Laxalt is slightly ahead. Analysts say those leads could change in a matter of hours as workers continue to count additional ballots. Emlyn, ABC News in Washington.
A lot will be at stake Monday when President Biden sits down with China's leader. Biden and Xi Jinping will meet face-to-face for the first time since Biden took office. They'll talk about Russia and Taiwan. U.S. and China relations have been frayed since House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. U.S. officials say the goal is to improve the relationship between the world's two largest economies. The two leaders have talked 5 times by phone previously before Monday's scheduled meeting at the G20 summit.
We are learning new information about 3 Americans found dead while on vacation in Mexico. Family members in the U.S. released pictures of the 2 men and a woman found dead at a Mexican Airbnb. All are victims of carbon monoxide poisoning. ABC's Morgan Norwood shows us what went tragically wrong.
The families of 4 tourists killed by carbon monoxide poisoning in 2 different Mexico City vacation rentals now demanding answers.
This can't happen anymore.
Authorities say Americans Candace Florence, Jordan Marshall, and Cortez Hall were all found dead in their Airbnb rental on October 30th. Candace telling her boyfriend that she wasn't feeling well that day.
She said, I was vomiting and dizzy, and my legs are wobbly.
Authorities say they arrived at the scene to find the bodies of the 3 friends, all dead from carbon monoxide poisoning. Airbnb suspending the listing and canceling upcoming reservations, telling ABC News our priority is now to provide support to those affected while the authorities investigate what happened, and we are available to cooperate with the investigation in any way we can. But that same weekend, just a few miles away, another American death from carbon monoxide. 29-year-old Angelica Ars was staying in a non-Airbnb vacation rental with her siblings, Andrea and Marco, when they started to feel sick, telling our San Diego affiliate KGTV that Angelica was treated for heat exhaustion and then went back to the rental to sleep. Hours later, Marco found her lifeless.
I looked at her hair and she was all purple. I was very scared.
Not all rental companies mandate that their properties have functioning carbon monoxide detectors. The victims' families now calling for more regulation.
We will fight to make sure that mandates are implemented so no other family has to deal with this type of brokenness and heartache.
Carbon monoxide is an invisible, odorless gas, and the symptoms include headache, nausea, confusion, and dizziness. Now, experts say you should have a carbon monoxide detector in your home. And there are also small travel devices approved by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency that can detect any dangerous levels of carbon monoxide. I'm Morgan Norwood, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Well, here on the eve of Veterans Day, we wanted to get a look at the state of veterans who are homeless.
Many volunteers are out there right now fighting to get housing for veterans who are living on the streets.
Good morning. Are you a veteran?
From tent to tent in the nation's capital, in the shadow of the grandeur of Union Station.
No days wasted doing this job. No days wasted.
Navy veteran Hector Lugo, who was once homeless himself, has a mission, searching for fellow vets who survive without a home.
What branch of service have you served in?
He finds one, barely moving on the granite, foot outstretched as the world walks by.
You know, I do have tears when I talk about them, when I'm talking to people who don't understand.
The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs says it's on track to meet its goal of housing 38,000 veterans this calendar year.
Our outreach team goes out and engages veterans. We also provide supportive housing services.
Ilana Marmon and Sharon Haddock explain there's a greater emphasis now on giving homeless vets a place to live first, rather than waiting for long-term treatment to be finished for possible substance abuse or mental health issues.
The old school was veterans had to, be ready for housing. They had to be drug-free. With Housing First, we take you. If you're ready for housing, we get you into housing.
Getting the number of homeless vets down to zero is the job of Veterans Affairs Secretary Dennis McDonough.
So, Mr. Secretary, what do you think you've done differently to bring that number down?
We aggressively work to identify by name our homeless veterans. Not only do we identify them by name, but we find out what it is that ails them and why are they in the situation that they find themselves.
McDonough points to more money from Congress, funds that will help to finish new homes for veterans, like these studios and one-bedroom apartments at the VA in West Los Angeles.
I think that the numbers, the amount of assistance that Congress has dedicated to this challenge, and that we and that local and state governments have dedicated to this challenge, there's no question about that.
The message from the VA and from formerly homeless vets like Hector.
I'm not going to quit on you because when you were out there, you were serving our country. You didn't quit on us.
Alabama has more than 330,000 veterans living here. The website veteransdata.info estimates about 7.5% of those veterans live in poverty. Wild weather extremes impacting the U.S. A look at the blizzard blasting states to our north.
Plus, we're getting a new video of the extreme damage Hurricane Nicole inflicted on Florida. We're getting a new video as the remnants of Hurricane Nicole move up the East Coast.
Yeah, we have some new video from Nicole's heavy rain that drenched Charleston, South Carolina today. As you can see, flooding swamped that one car there. Others moved through that high water along the streets. Nicole certainly left its mark hitting Florida's East Coast as a Category 1 hurricane. These pictures show a house hanging on over the water due to the extensive beach erosion. Chris Wynn has the latest on more hurricane damage now in Florida, just 43 days after powerful Hurricane Ian hit.
The waves just keep on coming.
Nicole is on the move after becoming the first hurricane to make U.S. landfall in November in nearly 40 years. The storm system weakening as it goes north.
Dangerous beach conditions will continue along the East Coast as a result of elevated tides.
The threat of severe weather now stretching across at least 3 states: Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina bracing for possible tornadoes. Destructive wind and rain embedded within Nicole's outer band. South Carolina already seeing the effects as streets in Charleston begin to flood.
A coastal flood warning shall remain into effect as seas are expected to remain 2 to 3 feet above normal levels.
Back in Florida, the damage is widespread. Some homes and buildings are collapsing into the ocean, triggering evacuations. Hundreds of thousands of people are without power. Flights are canceled. Schools shut down. And in Lauderdale by the Sea, this portion of a pier partially collapsed.
There's still some wind and rain happening out there. There's really no reason to be out there. Please take care of each other.
But officials say it could have been worse, saying Nicole's peak winds coincided with low tide, which limited the storm surge and flooding on the shore, sparing some beach communities.
It's safe to say that we dodged a bullet here in Indian River County. We're pleased that we have not received much any reports of damage at this time.
Chris Wynn, WAAY 31 News.
Right now, some local utility crews are on standby to help clean up the damage left behind by Nicole. 10 electric employees from the city of Florence are in New Smyrna Beach. They will help restore power in that area. Huntsville Utilities has help available as well. They have not received the green light, though, yet to be dispatched to the area.
Winter weather emerged with a force. A blizzard is hitting North Dakota. The state got blasted with 1.5 feet of snow. Travel's being restricted across the state. Parts of South Dakota and Montana are being hit with heavy snow from this same system.
Weather coverage you can count on with meteorologist Olga Breeze and the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
And we continue to track what's left of Nicole. At this point, we are seeing some cloud cover across our region. We are quiet for the most part on our early warning radar network. A few spritzes and showers moving in to some of our eastern and southern counties. But for the most part, most of the rain will hold off until about midnight tonight. The heaviest rain on the Carolina coast, where they have had a few tornado watch boxes go up over the last 30 minutes or so. Right now, Nicole continues to track north and northwest. The heaviest rains there through the Panama City area. As far as the track continuing inland, we will be able to see a little bit of an effect from that. As it passes through mainly across the state of Georgia, we will get the opportunity for some heavy rain to move on into our area for our Friday morning forecast, and we'll also see some rain over the weekend associated with a different cold front moving on through. But right now, temperatures are sliding out of the 70s and into the 60s, upper 60s for Guntersville at 68, still holding on to 71 in Decatur with overcast skies, and occasionally a little bit of break still pulls on through. As the sun sets earlier and earlier, we've already had our high temperature for today. Right now we're sitting at Muscle Shoals at 73 degrees with those overcast skies as the temperatures continue to take a tumble. I expect us to bottom out right about 60 degrees for our overnight low. We had a chilly start this morning. The almanac came in at 49 degrees for Huntsville's reporting station, but we did get enough of that sunshine to get us up to 75 officially today. So it was above average day for us with those winds out of the south. Still only a slight 0.3 of an inch of rain for this month, but we will improve upon that in tomorrow's forecast. I think for this evening, though, go ahead, take that evening stroll after dinner. We'll have the overcast skies, very low rain chances for the overnight and those mild temperatures, but as you wake up tomorrow morning, it could be a wet and sloppy commute for some of us. And even overnight tonight, you might see a flash of lightning or even the rumble of thunder. The planner for tomorrow for your your Veterans Day observations and memorials. We will see the opportunity for rain till about 12, 1 o'clock. But when we move into the afternoon, sun breaks out a little bit. Temperatures are feeling pretty good in those upper 60s, but we will have the opportunity for rain as the front gets closer and closer. Let's go hour to hour with future radar. About midnight tonight, we're seeing some heavy pockets of rain in portions of the viewing area, not all of us. We will get some steady rain off and on throughout the day tomorrow morning. That's going to make for that messy commute, then the clearing in the afternoon and the evening hours. Friday night football looks great, but as that front moves through, rain for the weekend. Saturday, Sunday will be wet. We'll eventually get the sunshine back by Saturday evening, but it will be cold. We're talking about highs in the 40s and lows in the 20s. 7-day forecast lays it out, 50 degrees for our high on Sunday, and then we turn the corner, we get back to 56 for Monday, but we're bringing back some pretty healthy rain chances into the middle of next week.
She is a true pioneer in space. Her story in the spotlight for Native American Month. It's next on WAAY 31 News at 4:30.
As we mark Native American Indian Heritage Month, we want to put the spotlight now on a pioneering astronaut.
ABC's Faith Abube highlights the achievements of the first Native American woman that NASA has ever launched into space.
This is Nicole Mann on board the International Space Station.
The NASA astronaut has become somewhat of a celebrity.
It's so incredible. I've received a lot of letters,
humbled as she celebrated not only for being the first woman to serve as mission commander, but also the first Indigenous American woman from NASA to ever launch into space. The 45-year-old, born in California, is a registered member of the WAAY of the Round Valley Indian tribes.
I feel very proud to be on board the space station and certainly to represent Native Americans and Indigenous people on board.
Space and the stars have always fascinated her. But Corporal Maine says she never thought she could be an astronaut until later in life.
I had never really understood what an astronaut did, who became astronauts, what it really took to become an astronaut. Unfortunately, in my mind at that time, it was not in the realm of possibilities.
Today, Maine is leading a team that's conducting numerous space experiments in an orbital lab. Her son and husband back here on Earth. The only personal item with her in space is this dream catcher.
It's pretty amazing in microgravity because it just floats and the feathers kind of go every which way.
Faith Abube, ABC News.
Man previously deployed twice to Iraq and Afghanistan, where she flew jets in the Marine Corps.
Coming up next on WAAY 31 News at 5, a former Huntsville police officer's appeal of his murder conviction goes before the State Appeals Court. We'll have that reaction at the top of the hour.
You're watching Alabama Broadcasters Station of the Year. Coverage you can count on. WAAY 31 News at 5 starts now.
Oral arguments today in the case of a former Huntsville police officer convicted of murder fighting to overturn his conviction.
Flu cases continue to increase across Alabama, and an update from last hour with 4 people now dead from this year's early outbreak.
What you should be looking out for this holiday season as credit card rates hit record highs and the Federal Reserve's fight against inflation. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for WAAY 31 News at 5. I'm Marie Waxel.
And I'm Dan Schaefer. Now at 5, attorneys on both sides of the case of former Huntsville police officer and convicted murderer William Darby received tough questions from the Alabama Court of Appeals today.
The court allowed oral arguments on Darby's appeal this morning as he fights for another trial following his conviction for shooting and killing Jeffrey Parker in 2018. Now, senior reporter Matt Kroschel was at Samford University in Birmingham for those arguments. Darby wasn't allowed to attend, but the hearing attracted support from many members of law enforcement, including Darby's ex-boss, former Huntsville Police Chief Mark McMurray, and Darby's wife.
Well, the two parts of this that the judges wanted more information about during these oral arguments, the question on whether or not it was considered a closed trial and if William Darby's Sixth Amendment right was violated to an open public trial or not, and whether or not the jury received enough instructions about a police officer and reasonable use of force during those deliberations.
I'm very happy with the presentation today of Ben's case. I believe that our legal team did an excellent job in answering the questions posed to them by the court, but also explaining why it's such an important issue of why his courtroom was closed and how that's a constitutional violation of his rights, and then also why he wasn't viewed as a police officer. You have to look at a police officer's point of view and when they use force, because officers like myself and Ben are trained to do a job that Joe Q. citizen cannot do.
Really no time frame when we might get a ruling back from this court, but if you look at the averages on criminal cases and on appeal here in Alabama, it's about a year, so we could be looking at early next year. Reporting at Samford University, Matt Kroschel, WAAY 31 News.
Darby's serving his 25-year sentence at Limestone Correctional Facility in protective custody.
A warning from health officials now. They want you to get a COVID booster before the holidays. They're worried about a surge of respiratory illnesses this winter. The CDC says less than 10% of Americans have received the latest booster. The push comes as an early outbreak of the flu spreads. New at 5, the first deaths associated with the flu have taken place in Alabama. According to the Alabama Department of Public Health, 3 adults and a child have died so far this flu season. The state has not revealed where those deaths occurred.
WAAY 31's Matt Paskowitz spoke to one doctor today who says this season is especially rough here in Alabama.
Hey Dan, yeah, according to the CDC, Alabama is one of 3 states now with the highest flu activity in the entire country. This new information is worrying Alabama doctors as the holiday season is just right around the corner.
We're seeing a lot of positive cases, unfortunately, more for flu than COVID at this time of the year.
Every year, flu season is something to be concerned about, but this year has been unusual.
This year is different than what we have had in the past, because like last 2 years in the pandemic, everybody was masking.
Flu activity in Alabama this season is now the highest it has been in more than a decade, with case numbers nearly 4 times more than last year at this time.
Now we're starting to see all the households. If one person gets it in the house, it pretty much goes to everybody else.
Cases are especially bad in the South. The 3 states with the most activity, Alabama, South Carolina, and Tennessee, are all in this region. Dr. Boldla says the best way to stop this spread is by rolling up your sleeve and getting a flu shot.
You're going to prevent yourself, you're going to prevent your kids, your colleagues. It's just a good thing because like hospital system is literally overloaded, right?
And while the shot might hurt a bit, the positives outweigh the brief period of pain.
So protect yourself, protect your household, protect your community. That's a good thing to do. Wait, what's the excuse not to do it?
Now, Dr. Bolda also stressed the importance of staying home when you are not feeling well. The more people go out when sick, the worse the spread will get. Live in the studio, Matt Paskowitz, WAAY 31 News.
All right, thank you, Matt. Tonight at 6, Dr. Bolda addresses one common myth associated with getting the flu shot. Scottsboro City Schools remain closed today due to the high numbers of flu cases among students and staff. Schools will remain closed for Veterans Day tomorrow. In-person classes resume Monday.
Florida residents are assessing the damage from Hurricane Nicole. Nicole, now a tropical storm, made landfall south of Vero Beach as a Category 1 hurricane last night. Storm surge as high as 6 feet plus pounding surf impacted hundreds of miles of coastline. Erosion along beaches left houses in danger of collapsing. Daytona Beach was hit hard just 6 weeks after Ian devastated that area.
These homes right here are barely hanging on. You can see it's just starting to crumble little by little underneath this house.
Meanwhile, at the Kennedy Space Center, NASA released a statement on the condition of the SLS and Orion spacecraft. They say wind sensors detected 82-mile-per-hour winds at the 60-foot level. So far, NASA says they have only seen minor damage to the Artemis 1 rocket. Launch of the most powerful rocket ever built is set for early Wednesday morning. Take a live look now at our WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network. If we can, rain bands associated with that tropical storm are already moving through parts of North Alabama and will continue through tomorrow morning. Here is a look at it. You see the circulation there right around the Big Bend of Florida, and there are those rain bands moving through Georgia and into Alabama.
We saw the clouds rolling in all day today. Let's check in with WAAY 31 Storm Tracker meteorologist Olga Breeze in our Storm Tracker Weather Center monitoring those current conditions out there right now. Olga?
Well, we're not getting the brunt of it. That's always a good thing. But what's left of this hurricane, now tropical storm Nicole, is going to have an effect on us, not only tomorrow, but into the weekend as well. We are looking at right now cloud cover overhead. Radar is quiet, but as rain develops overnight tonight, some of that rain could be heavy and steady, especially in tomorrow morning's commute. Sun is setting. We're looking at 72 degrees for Huntsville. Over the horizon there, Muscle Shoals with a little bit of broken cloud cover, but they are socked in over at Guntersville. We're 68 degrees currently. In all, it's going to be a fairly mild night tonight. We're just now sliding out of these lower 70s and into those upper 60s, and I think we will settle right around 60 degrees for that overnight low. So it won't be a chilly night tonight, but as we move into tomorrow's forecast, we're still going to see some temperatures closer to what we had today, at least breaking that threshold into the 70s, but heading in toward the weekend, a cold front is moving through, and the coolest air of the season will be coming our way Saturday and Sunday. I'll be back to give you all the details in just a moment.
Thanks. So we'll do it 5. Credit card interest rates have reached record levels due to the Federal Reserve's war on inflation, and that could have a big impact on all of us who might use them to buy Christmas gifts this season.
WAAY 31's Xavier Wary joins us after speaking with a Wells Fargo representative today. Xavier, what did you learn?
Marie and Dan, it's that part of the year where it's time to start thinking about some holiday shopping, understanding that this year has been difficult for most. Inflation has driven up those credit card interest rates to numbers that we have never seen before. So today I spoke with a Wells Fargo representative to get some tips for consumers as we prepare for this holiday season.
These are turbulent times, if you will. But there is hope. There is a way to navigate and use those credit cards responsibly.
The average credit card annual percentage rate has climbed to 19.4% as of November the 9th, which is the highest rate since 1985 when the services database began. Louise Smith, the Huntsville region leader for Wells Fargo, advises consumers to only buy what you need and some of what you want.
We don't have to be really out here trying to purchase any and everything just because the sale is there.
Smith says around this time of year, consumers should aggressively look for reward points.
If they can spend their own reward points that they've earned throughout the year on their everyday spending, that really helps to boost the economy without feeling the pain point or the pressure from inflation, if you will.
However, if you are experiencing tough times as we approach the holiday season, Smith urges you to not feel obligated to break the bank and even offers an unconventional solution.
Maybe do some of that shopping even after the holiday. There are sales that would take place, during the holiday season, but wow, there are so many that take place after the holiday season.
Now, Smith says upon her research, she found that shopping this holiday season should increase by about 6%. I had to ask her if she was surprised at all by that number, considering the fact that those interest rates have gone up to 19.4%. Again, numbers that we have not seen in this country. She says no, because people are just excited to get back to some sense of normalcy. But again, the most important thing that she shared with me was that no matter how much or how little you decide to spend this holiday season, the most important thing you can do is have a good financial plan. But for now, we are live in Huntsville. Xavier Wary, WAAY 31 News.
Great advice. Thanks, Xavier. The latest inflation numbers are out with better than expected results. Got that going for us. You paid 7.7% more last month compared to the year prior. While those prices are still high, they're lower by 0.5% compared to September levels, which were at 8.2%. But people are still paying around $457 more for essentials every month.
We're expecting consumer spending to hang in there, but that consumers are going to be a lot more budget conscious this holiday season as they pay more for just about everything.
The Labor Department also released its weekly jobs report today. Those numbers show around 7,000 more people filed for unemployment compared to last week. Let's take a look at the numbers here in Alabama. There were just over 2,400 claims statewide this week. 170 of those were in Madison County, which has the third highest number of claims in the state. Marshall and Morgan counties both have 31 claims each.
More companies North Alabama are looking to get more people in the door.
When you need to know when the last public forum of the year with Huntsville Police will be.
And tonight on WAAY 31 News at 6, we take a look at the growth of veteran-owned businesses in North Alabama in this week's Boomtown.
In this week's Skill to Work, we are taking a look at an upcoming job fair at Calhoun Community College. The college's Decatur campus will be hosting Schwartz Industries on Wednesday, November 16th. You can head out to the college's MSA foyer starting at 9 a.m. The hiring fair will last until noon. Later this month, you'll also have a chance to attend Huntsville's first Geospatial Advantage Conference and Career Fair, talking basically about maps and location services. The event will take place November 29th at the Jackson Center and Research Park. The conference and career fair will have a focus on artificial intelligence, geospatial learning, and commercial data in the Rocket City.
You have a chance to learn how Huntsville Police uses force in their upcoming Citizens Advisory Council Forum. This will be the last forum of 2022. It's at the Dr. Richard Showers Senior Rec Center Monday at 5:30. Police and the Citizens Advisory Council will talk about their decision-making process. They'll also talk about the police training to address different levels of threats. You'll also get a chance to make your voice heard on Tuesday at a public transit meeting. Huntsville Transit will hold community outreach meetings next Tuesday and Wednesday. This will be your last chance to give feedback as city officials work on an updated transit plan. The first meeting will be at 5 p.m. on the second floor of the Public Library downtown.
Northwest Shoals Community College is inviting you to attend the 50th anniversary celebration of their nursing program. You can head out to their Phil Campbell campus next week, Friday, November 18th. The party will be in Building 305. The school's nursing program was established back in 1972, and those nurses helped alleviate a shortage of nurses across North Alabama 50 years ago.
The VA continues to accept burn pit claims after the passage of the PACT Act this year. Some are asking if the VA is prepared to begin treatment for up to 3.5 million veterans in just 2 months. The U.S. Secretary of Veterans Affairs says yes, they are up for the task.
Yeah, so we will be ready. We've spent the last year hiring 2,000 new people, those 2,000 new VA staff to be in a position to work on those claims.
VA officials want you to file a claim even if you had one denied in the past.
We have a chance to celebrate our veterans here in Huntsville tomorrow.
The Veterans Day Parade steps off at 11 tomorrow morning. The parade route starts on Woodston Street before passing by the Veterans Memorial on Monroe Street. The route will end near the Lumberyard on Cleveland Avenue.
4 people are now dead from carbon monoxide poisoning while on vacation. The 2 separate incidents both happened at vacation rentals in Mexico City. All 4 were Americans. Law enforcement found 3 of them on October 30th. In response, Airbnb canceled upcoming reservations and unlisted the property. The 4th was staying a few miles away at a separate rental. All of their families are now demanding answers.
We will fight to make sure that mandates are implemented so no other family has to deal with this type of brokenness and heartache.
Carbon monoxide is an invisible, odorless gas. Symptoms include nausea, confusion, and dizziness. Health experts also say the EPA has travel-sized carbon monoxide detectors that you can bring with you on vacation.
Weather coverage you can count on with meteorologist Olga Breeze and the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
The clouds have arrived and bands of rain are now moving in from east to west across North Alabama and south central Tennessee. This is all part of Nicole, well off to our south, but those outer bands really giving us the opportunity for some much needed rain. First, we'll see a few light showers into the late evening and the overnight. By the time we get into the early morning hours, though, we could see some heavy and steady rainfall moving on in and the opportunity for some gusty winds as well. Right now, tracking our current conditions across the region. As the sun sets, the temperatures are sliding out of the 70s and into the 60s, already 68 for Guntersville. Most of us are under some cloud cover. Decatur, looking at overcast skies, 70 degrees, feeling like 72, so there's a little bit of a bump there with some humidity and moisture in the air. As the dew points continue to rise, it will be a fairly muggy night tonight. For the most part, though, temperatures will settle through the 60s and down into those upper 50s for some of our suburbs overnight tonight. That's after being 49 degrees earlier this morning at Huntsville's reporting station, but today's high officially made it to 75 degrees. We had enough sunshine filtering in there. Tomorrow will be a little bit more deficient with that cloud cover overhead. Rain chances hold steady into the evening hours around 20%, so we can't rule out a spritz or a sprinkle, but it won't disrupt your evening. What it will impact, though, is that early morning commute as those rain chances go up. So the rain arrives tonight. We're going to continue to track this for you as we move on into Veterans Day, because the morning could be very wet and messy, especially as the parade kicks off. The good news is that we will dry out the second half of the day on Friday. So the football games are looking good tomorrow night, but the front that moves in Friday night into Saturday is ushering in some very cold air for the weekend, some of the coldest we've seen in the system. So let's get you up to date on tropical storm Nicole. Continues to move northwest. It's tracking about 15 miles per hour, and most of that track will keep it over the state of Georgia. But the band's close enough to give us that cloud cover as we head into Saturday and Sunday, and then the front is going to bring us some rain opportunities as well. The morning planner is not a complete washout, but there will be some periods of heavy rain and downpours, and I don't see the rain letting up too much until after that 9 a.m. hour. The hourly forecast model agrees. Here we are at 6 p.m. with the cloud cover, heavy pockets of rain after midnight tonight, but scattered, so it's not an all-over rain, all-night rain. But when you wake up tomorrow morning, some pretty moderate dark greens showing up here at 7 a.m., and that does continue into much of the morning. The sunshine will begin to try to peak just ahead of sunset tomorrow evening, broken cloud cover, but the rain on Saturday will be a factor through much of the day, at least until those early afternoon and evening hours before we clear out. Sunday's the better day of the weekend, where we'll see a little bit of sunshine and some mixed cloud cover. The overall forecast for the next 7 days is looking chilly, especially Saturday and Sunday, where our highs are only going to be near 50 degrees. We'll turn it around into the lower 50s next week.
One of rare fossils going up for auction.
How much you'll have to pay, though, to make it yours. Huntsville City Football Club held their let me try this over again. The Huntsville City Football Club held their big brand reveal today, and you can already buy season tickets for their inaugural season. Because I'm just so excited about it coming up. Huntsville Mayor Tommy Battle kicked off the club's season ticket by purchasing his own. Tickets start at $140. The new club will begin playing at a newly renovated Joe Davis Stadium next May.
You have a chance this Saturday to help Limestone County families in need. Starting at 8 in the morning, you can stop by Stuff a Truck at the First National Bank off U.S. Highway 72 and Lindsay Lane. Limestone County Churches involved will be accepting food items until 4 that evening.
Well, you could get your hands on a T-Rex skull if you have the cash, right? Just in time for Christmas. This rail fossil will be auctioned off next month for $20 million. Wow. The skull is one of the most complete of its kind. This ancient artifact, which the auction house calls Maximus, is just under 7 feet tall and 200 pounds. Maximus was originally uncovered in South Dakota. Can you imagine that just sitting right there in my dining room? Boom.
Well, an unsettling discovery off the coast of Florida. A dive team filming a documentary for the History Channel recently found what NASA has confirmed to be a piece of Space Shuttle Challenger. Challenger blew up 73 seconds after liftoff on a cold January morning in 1986, killing all 7 astronauts. NASA is considering now what to do with that artifact to properly honor the legacy of the fallen crew members.
All right, forecast stays mild tomorrow. We'll have to deal with the rain, mainly the first half of the day for Veterans Day, but it will be mild in those upper 60s. Then the cold front swings through Friday night. That means a chilly weekend, upper 40s to near 50 degrees, and our morning lows in the 20s on Sunday night.
For 24/7 coverage you can count on, local news, breaking news, and severe weather, go to WAAYTV.com.
Don't go anywhere. World News Tonight with David Muir starts in a few minutes right here.